So the basis for this residency was an installation that I completed last year, and it's in Lather and Wheel, which is about 4 miles south of Leicester, where I grew up. And that installation is about tracing light in a space. So it documents my own process of getting to know a space. But my primary focus has been silvering of glass to make mirror, and to understand how I can reflect light and how different treatments can affect the quality of the space and the atmosphere. So the first mirrors I made were with distilled water, so that I could get a pure mirror, a reflection of the light. Silver is will reflect the light in its truest quality, or as close to that as possible. And then I started to think about how I could alter the chemistry of that dependent on the place. So I collected water from the Chemung River here and substituted it for the distilled water. When I mixed the mirror to see how the silver would deposit differently on the surface. And then that started to escalate, and people brought me water from different parts of the States when they went on conference trips here from the museum. So I have water from Saratoga Springs, and I also convinced my family that they should send me water from home, from the site that I had been working with in mind when I was starting the Insta process. So I've been cutting lots of tiles, I've made a lot of samples, and before I start the mirroring process, I've been using a UV light with a shortwave bulb to discern which side of the glass the tin is on. So I started out with some very small scale tests, and then once I had begun to understand more about the process and could see where I wanted to take it, I used some of the information that I'd gathered from this building, from the smokehouse back home, and had then tried to predict where the light will be on a particular day of the year, which coincides with when there was quite a historic flood in the area, which is also why the water is so important in telling the story about place in the mirror. So I hadn't been to Corning before, so I was unaware of the history surrounding the river and the flood that had been here. So when we got a tour of the museum from a docent on one of the very first days here, I was really surprised to see this collaborative piece between James Carpenter and Dale Chihuly, and it was just a really striking coincidence for me. And then that got me thinking about water and place and stories. So the smokehouse sits at the mouth of a river where it flows into the North Sea, and there was a flood there many years ago which was marked by a sign. The level of the water was marked by a sign, and I found the sign when I was in the building, Illuminate, and it's a really dark space. The inside of it is black just from the smoke. The smokehouse is at the mouth of a river where the river meets the North Sea, and all you can hear is the water, and it's a very mysterious kind of place, and it's kind of foreboding, which I quite like. I like the mystery around it, so I really wanted to create an experience where it was about the light and the sound of the water, and you're really aware of the context and the surroundings.